This is the issue, and I am the ghetto man. Today's issue, the fourth plank of the Communist manifesto, the confiscation of all property of immigrants and rebels. Don't go away. We'll be right back. The fourth plank of the Communist Manifesto, the confiscation of all property of immigrants and rebels. Communism is all about separating the property owner from his or her property. It's all about property confiscation and control. Now, in the United States, the fourth plank of the Communist Manifesto is accomplished through endless government bureaucracies and endless regulations that operate outside of the mandates of the U.S. Constitution. Most of the bureaucracies have their own administrative law courts, and they operate outside of the safeguards guaranteed by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Heavy fines and property seizures are imposed on citizens that attempt to assert their inalienable right to use their property as they see fit. Many times, property is confiscated without the property owner have ever setting foot in a real constitutional courtroom. Government no longer serves the citizen. It has become an out-of-control monster that views any citizen that exercises a constitutionally protected right as a rebel. Instead of protecting the rights of the citizen, government curtails them, punishing anyone that would dare to challenge its bureaucratic, pretended authority. You have the IRS, the ATF, BLM, EPA, FCC, ICE, DOT, TSA, SSS, OSHA, NSA, NOAA, HUD, FTC, FEMA, FDA, FBI, CIA, FAA, EPA, DHS, CCR. And as you can see, the list goes on and on. There are so many unconstitutional government agencies, it boggles the mind. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution was designed to allow rebellion to remain as our heritage. Our founding fathers designed the Constitution to keep government off the backs of we the people, off our backs. The idea is to allow men and women to be free and independent, to be able to assert their rights, to redress government anytime the government steps outside of the mandates of the contract, the United States Constitution. That's the contract. Okay, let's take a look at the First Amendment. It reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. First Amendment, United States Constitution. The rights that are listed here in the First Amendment, these rights are inalienable rights and cannot, under any circumstances, be denied without due process of law. That's why the first words of the First Amendment are, Congress shall make no law. Doesn't get any clearer than that, does it? In fact, Congress can make no law that abridges any of our inalienable rights. Today, government views and reacts to any citizen asserting a constitutionally protected right as an act of rebellion against it. And rebels need to be dealt with swiftly and harshly, don't they? To these traitors, the U.S. Constitution has no place in today's government, even though they all took an oath to uphold and defend it. How soon they forget. Or maybe they never had any intention to obey it in the first place. Now, people are beginning to rebel against government's unconstitutional heavy hand. And rightfully so. And when they do, the doo-doo hits the fan, doesn't it? Government comes down on them like a ton of bricks. Any attempt to redress our grievances falls on deaf ears. Resistance is futile. Rebellion is a part of our heritage. When government becomes contempt of the law, when government becomes a lawbreaker, it is not only the right, it is the duty of we the people to rebel. It is a duty of we the people to resist an unlawful act by government against us. It is our duty to alter and abolish any form of government that has become contrary to the United States Constitution. In the past 30 years or so, we have seen the heavy hand of a tyrant government over and over and over again, haven't we? I mean, the IRS is a prime example of an unconstitutional government agency preying on the sovereign citizens of the United States of America. As we learned studying the second plank of the Communist manifesto, the 16th Amendment, the so-called Income Tax Amendment, was never ratified. And the IRS has no constitutional authority to exist at all. But it does exist, operating completely outside of the mandates of the United States Constitution and the rulings of the United States Supreme Court. The IRS fines, liens, seizes businesses, churches, homes, cars, bank accounts, and other properties, and it does so all without due process of law. And as of lately, it has been used by political parties to harass and punish their opposition unconstitutionally. How about the unconstitutional drug laws? They're another example, allowing government agents to seize businesses, homes, cars, bank accounts, cash, and other properties as well. And again, all without due process of law. How about the civil forfeiture laws? If you're a person that prefers to use cash over checks and debit cards or some other electronic monetary transaction, for example, government can arbitrarily seize your cash without probable cause or a Fourth Amendment warrant, and you have to prove that the money was not used in any unlawful way, even if the government hasn't any evidence to the contrary. And you have to do that just to get it back, if you're lucky to get it back. And again, all without due process of law. Now, looking back at the Declaration of Independence, our nation's founders addressed this very problem concerning the King of England and his arbitrary confiscation of a citizen's property. Quote, "He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat out their substance." Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Well, it sounds familiar because it is. Today, government makes it a crime to exercise your constitutionally protected inalienable rights. It's that simple. Due process of law, equal protection of law have become nothing more than a form of words. There isn't a day go by where government, under the guise of national security or some other pretended emergency, doesn't have someone or some group under siege for the crime of asserting a constitutionally protected, inalienable right. How about Ruby Ridge, Idaho? Randy Weaver was set up on a gun charge. He refused to obey a fraudulent bench warrant. In results, mother and son murdered and a family destroyed. Why? Because Randy Weaver and his family stood up against an unconstitutional act against him and his family by government. Now, Randy Weaver was vindicated and won a civil lawsuit against the actions taken against him and his family. A small victory indeed for the loss of a wife and son. How about Waco, Texas? An entire church complex, along with most of its congregation, were either shot or burned to death. 17 children died that day just because the government didn't agree with the Branch Davidians' sincerely held religious beliefs. And most recently in Nevada, the Bundys, harassed by the BLM, their animals killed, their rights completely violated. Falsely charged, jailed for 2 years without bail. For what? For exercising surface and grazing rights that had been owned by the family for generations. We're talking about inalienable rights here. Something that the United States government has a duty to protect. Instead, the Bundys were attacked by the BLM, an unconstitutional government agency that operates completely outside of the law, destroying their lives. Is this what our government job is? To destroy citizens' lives? Now, these are just a few examples of how we practice the fourth plank of the Communist Manifesto in America today. There are thousands of incidents like this happening all over the United States, and it's happening every single day. The confiscation of property from anyone who would dare to exercise a constitutionally protected, inalienable right. Who will challenge the beast? Will it be you? Will it be me? Well, those who already walk submissively will say there is no cause for alarm. That comes out of the case called Laird versus Tatum, 408 U.S. 1. Well, do you walk submissively? If not, then sound the alarm. Welcome to Communist America, where all of us practice the first, second, third, and fourth plank of the Communist Manifesto exactly the way that Karl Marx outlined it in the Communist Manifesto. Stay tuned for the fifth plank of the Communist Manifesto, the establishment of a central bank. I am the Ghetto Man. Thank you for watching. And if you're politically correct, then you're legally wrong. And if you're not part of the solution, then you are the problem. Please subscribe and please share.